So I just recently moved across town, which meant I needed to transport all my chameleons from my old place to my new place, and I get asked all the time, how do I transport my chameleon to the vet? I'm moving, what do I do? So I'm going to give you some tips and tricks on how you can move with a chameleon for short distances. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So this advice is only going to work for short distances, anything that's less than 24 hours. If you're needing to travel with your chameleon for more than 24 hours, then that gets a little bit more complicated because then you have to deal with temporary enclosures and food, and there's just a lot more to it. So this is going to be for short travel, like one-day road trips, couple-hour drive, things like that. First things first is getting the transportation container ready. So for my move, I just use extra small cardboard boxes from Home Depot. I know a lot of people do plastic tubs. That would totally be fine too. The thing is, you want there to be enough room, but not too much room that your chameleons climb in all over, but that they're not feeling squished in there. The other thing is you want to have some sort of stick, so something that they can hold onto. So I just got some small sticks and kind of wedged them inside of my boxes. And then you can also, if you want, put down like a soft towel in case your chameleon falls off the stick with a bump. Not necessary, but totally an option if that's something that you want to do. The big thing is that you want it to be dark inside there. Reason for this, if your chameleon is able to see all of its surroundings, that can cause stress. So the cardboard box was a great option because that's not going to let any light in, but it is still breathable for the chameleons. In the past, when I have used pet carriers, I just took a towel and kind of draped it over so that Neptune wasn't able to see outside. So that would be my recommendation for getting your transportation set, like box thing. And you want to get that set up prior to getting your chameleon out of their enclosure, which brings me to part 2. So now on to probably the most difficult part about transporting your chameleon, in my opinion, which is getting your chameleon out. So if you can handle your chameleon, this should be pretty easy for you to do. You just get them out of their enclosure and then you offer them the transportation box thing that you're using. Now, Apollo was probably my easiest chameleon to get out. I was able to just leave his enclosure open and then he came right to the front, but he does that pretty frequently, so like I knew he was going to be super easy to get out. So I was able to get him out and then put him into his box. Now that was a challenge, a very big challenge. So the thing is, when you're putting your chameleon into the box, which I'll touch on that briefly right now, so chameleons like to climb up because height is safety. So it's unlikely that you're going to have a box and then have your chameleon and then they're going to climb down into the box. What they're going to want to do is climb up your arm instead of going down into the box. So what you want to do is kind of angle it up so then they'll climb up into it because they want to get higher. So that's what I had to do with Apollo, and then he ended up climbing onto my head, and then I had to like stand there for like 20 minutes while he was contemplating the meaning of life, trying to climb off of my head into the box. And anyway, so I was able to get him out pretty easily outside of his enclosure. The more difficult part was getting him into the box. Now, if you can't easily handle your chameleon, then you have a few other options. You can offer them food. So Neptune is very, very food motivated, especially with the tree bugs. So you can offer a bug and then maybe they're like, ooh, what's that? And then they can come to the front. You can offer your arm or a stick or something that they can get onto. I've also had times where Neptune wanted nothing to do with the food and I had a vet appointment and so I had to get him out. Which brings me to tip number 3, I guess. Another tip is to give yourself ample amount of time. Especially if you have a vet appointment, give yourself like a couple of hours to get your chameleon out of their enclosure. If you can't handle your chameleon and they're not food motivated, or maybe just that day they don't really care about the hornworm that you're offering, the other thing you can do is set up some sort of plant in front of them. So like I have a fake tree from Home Goods, and so I put that in front of Neptune's enclosure and like he came right out that way. You could also offer some sort of live plant or a stick, things like that. That could help get them out, but you're gonna have to give yourself lots of time for your chameleon to make the decision to want to come out in the first place. I know once Neptune's outside on his tree, then he's super easy to handle, but when he's in his enclosure, it's like not gonna happen. So a lot of it too is just knowing your chameleon, and it's important that you learn this. So if you have to take them to an emergency vet, or there's an emergency actually and you need to get them out, whatever the case, then you know how best to transport and handle your chameleon. So if that's not going to work, Luna, this is gonna sound weird, is water motivated. She's like super like a water goblin and loves drinking. So she was the last chameleon that I had to try and get out of her enclosure, and I actually got her out from water. Like, she was really big into water, so I got her dripper in a position so it was towards the front of the enclosure, and then I was able to easily handle her and put her into her box that way. So that would be another option. And if you can, try and get them onto a stick, so if they are gonna bite something, it's the stick and not you. And then the last and final option is you have to just force your chameleon out. Now, if you are going to do this, like, be mindful that they will try to bite you, so be strategic in your hand placement, wear gloves if you need to, and try not to squeeze them too hard, because like that's obviously gonna break some bones and stuff like that. That's like the worst case scenario, but hopefully you can try the other things first before trying to deal with all that, and really like try and get them onto a stick. And you just gotta like know chameleon body language and know chameleon behavior. They're very predictable, very predictable once you learn kind of how they work. If you are moving, it may be a good idea to try and get them out of their enclosure the night before. That's what I did. I was moving on Saturday. I got all my chameleons out of their enclosures inside their travel boxes on Friday. So then first thing in the morning, I moved my chameleons from my old apartment to my new apartment. So it was less than 24 hours that they were in the box. They basically just spent the night in the box, which is, they're not moving around much anyways. So that way I didn't have to stress on moving day of like trying to get all the chameleons out while dealing with the movers and like getting the keys to the new place and all that. So I got them out the day before. In instances where I have a vet appointment, I try to leave their enclosures open for a couple of hours and see if they'll come out on their own that way, so that I don't have to stress them out by force handling them and things like that. So give yourself plenty of time. Then it's just a matter of driving with your chameleon. I like to put a seatbelt on them so they're not sliding around, but just put them into your car. Be mindful of your driving. They'll be fine if there's a couple of speed bumps. Just don't be like a speed racer, you know, drifting around corners, and they'll be good. And then get them to the vet or to your new home, whatever. Keep in mind that they're probably going to be stressed. They're probably going to have darker colors. They're probably going to be more defensive. This is all common behavior. If you are moving with your chameleon, it's going to be like a couple of hours. Make sure you get them settled into their new home as soon as possible. Make that a priority to get that unpacked sooner than later. And then expect for them to need time to get adjusted to their new home. It's just like when you brought them home for the first time. New environment, which means that they're probably not going to be very hungry or inclined to eat. I would offer them extra water to make sure they're staying hydrated, and then just give them space and time. Same with if you bring your chameleon to the vet, especially if they're getting blood work done, and like that can be very stressful, so just give them space and time, and don't freak out if their behavior changes a little bit. So that's my advice with traveling and transporting a chameleon. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Leave any questions or comments down below. Feel free to subscribe so you know when I post a new video. You can follow Neptune and all my chameleons on social media at Neptune the Chameleon. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good day. Bye! Not quite. Almost though.